Welcome to Bad Reasons for Not Going to Church, Part 2. And this part has to do with kids. I don't go to church because my kids are loud, or they distract people, or somebody said something, or they distract me and I can't even concentrate. What's the purpose of going if I can't even concentrate at Mass? Let me tell you how many times I've said that, literally. And I can tell you that you don't have to be worried about your kids being loud at Mass. There's no kid that's louder than my kids at Mass. Literally, my kids are the loudest kids in any church I walk into, and it's sometimes really embarrassing. And they have very strong temperaments, but we'll get into that in a minute. Hello everyone, welcome to Catholic Truth. My name is Bryan Mercier, president of Catholic Truth, and we want you to know, love, live your Catholic faith, be set on fire for it, and have it change your life in Jesus Christ. Make sure you check out our website at catholictruth.org, and make sure you support us down below and follow us on social media. I have one girl, Sophia, who's 5 years old, and my other girl is 2. But when Sophia was young, she's what's known as a dragon baby, and that's less than 10% of the population, and they have extremely dragon-type personalities, very strong temperaments. And she used to cry and scream and have meltdowns if she couldn't get out of the pew. She used to try to crawl under the pew and totally throw herself out of your arms. And the people at church, the old people, when I went to daily Mass, I mean, they loved her. But many people would look at us like, why can't they control their kid? You know the looks. And I remember one foreign priest came up during Mass, and she was having this meltdown during Mass. And literally, during Mass, he said, "You can leave now and go to the quiet room." To which I replied, "No thanks, I'm good," because I knew the elderly people there loved my kids. And I'll tell you why in a second. That's very important detail. But this man told us to leave, and I went later and told my wife that, and she was mortified. She said I probably would have walked out of the church if he said that to me. I mean, he might have even left the church if I wasn't such a good Catholic. If my wife was a good Catholic and was so embarrassed that someone would say that she would consider leaving the church, how many other people have left the church because of something other ignorant people have said? And other people have looked down on you and maybe talked about your kids. I remember at church, these two ladies were yapping so loudly because both of them were deaf and couldn't hear each other, and they were complaining about the kids in front of them who were crying and distracting everybody. Kids these days, they don't know how to behave. Kids these days, parents don't know how to control them and give them discipline. And these old ladies were distracting everyone around them while complaining about the kids who were distracting people around them. So the point is, it doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter. Not going to church is a bad excuse because we don't go there for anybody but God. So to say, oh, well, I don't go to church because of my kids, the only one who pays for that is you and God. I remember at Catholic Underground where I went, and it was adoration, and 2 other young adults actually went up to these young adults and said that they probably shouldn't come because their baby was too loud in adoration. And so they came up to me because I was the leader, and they said, oh, we might not come back anymore because these people said that. I remember pounding the guy's chest with my fist, and I pointed it. And I said, don't you even think about leaving because of your kid. You make them leave before you leave. You're not going anywhere because God needs you here. What did Jesus say? Let the children come to me. Let the children come to me and don't dissuade them. So all of these people who are saying you can't do this because, they're too loud or these kids are too disruptive. You shouldn't bring kids to church. It's not about you. Please keep in mind that these people have very immature spiritualities. They don't even know that. They might even think they're holy, but if they were really holy, they would be able to, not only would they welcome the children and see the greater picture with wisdom, but they would actually be able to concentrate and focus deeply despite the kids in there. The reason why the kids are distracting them is because they're not holy and they are distracted. So it's their problem that they need to work on, not yours. Jesus said, let the children come. Here where I live, the whole attitude towards children has finally changed. We live in one of the most post-Christian nations on earth. So few people go to church here. Our churches are bare. Our churches are empty. Protestant, Catholic, we all are struggling because people just don't go to church anymore. And so now after we see the epidemic of telling people for generations, oh, keep your kids quiet or keep them at home, nowadays we're saying, bring your kids. We love your kids to come into church. And that's why all of those daily parishioners loved my girls coming to church, because there were no other children. Go to Mass on Sundays. There's hardly any kids. I could go to every Mass of the day, and I have sometimes for different reasons, and like for youth group reasons, and there's hardly any kids at church many times at all. High school, junior high, they're not there. And so now we're in such an epidemic, they're begging kids to come finally because we get it. The kids are the future of the church and we want them there. And so even priests now, when they hear my kids who are so loud at Mass sometimes, they say, we love having your girls here. And we're so glad they've come. They're going to make great additions to the choir someday. And other people too, who knew that our children were so loud, come up to us and say, we're so glad they're here. They are the future of the church. They get it. They get it. And many people now, in hindsight, get it. But other people around the world, other people in parts of the country, they're still ignorant. They still look down on people who have loud kids. Many people who don't have kids of themselves, they're not married, they don't get it. When you get married, you will. But we don't stop going to church because of other people and their ignorant opinions. I don't know how else to say it. Yes, children shouldn't be completely unruly in Mass. And yes, you might have to go to the back, as I often have to do with my daughter, who throws herself out of my arms and has a complete tizzy fit if she can't walk around the church and go up to the altar. She's 2. And you can't really control that type of a strong temperament yet, but in time it will be tempered. And proof to the story, I remember we go to Mass twice a week at this one particular church because it's at night. And my daughter is so unruly that I have to leave the church and go in the hallway and let her walk around, and I have to listen through the doors. I leave my other daughter, Sophia, in there by herself. And while she's in there, she's saying every prayer of the Mass. She knows the Mass word for word. She knows the songs. She knows the parts and when they come up. And that priest who asked me to publicly to leave and go to the quiet room, I remember just recently, he came up to me and he apologized for that. He said, I can't believe how good your daughter is in church. She knows every part of the Mass and she's 5. He was like astounded. He's like, you're making me eat my words and I feel terrible of what I've said to you. He pointed to me and said, you taught me a lesson, or she taught me a lesson. I was too judgmental, he said, but now I realize that I have to give kids time to grow and to learn. He said, your kid is a pleasure to have at Mass. And she responds to everything and she sits there perfectly quietly. But it wasn't that way from the beginning. But we need to have patience, time, understanding, love, and acceptance and virtue to understand these things. And yes, I've been so frustrated in Mass so many times, and I've told my wife, why am I even here? Why am I even here? I don't get anything out of it. I spend all my time in the WWE wrestling my kids and trying to get them just to stay still and stay focused. Then I don't even pray, and then I don't even get anything out of it. I shouldn't even be here. So I totally get those attitudes. But we go for God. God suffered and died on the cross for us. He didn't feel like it. It wasn't easy. So we go there out of love for him, even if we don't feel like it, even if we don't get anything out of it. I mean, Jesus didn't get anything out of dying on the cross. He didn't get anything out of it for himself. It was all for us. So we go to church out of love for him. We do it whether we feel like it or not, whether it's easy or not. And the more difficult it is, the more of a gift of love it is, because love is found in sacrifice. It means giving when it's hard. And we give God that even when it's hard. And the perfect example of this is St. Therese of Lisieux, who is in the chapel, and she shares this in her autobiography. She said all she wanted to do was commune with Christ. And this lady, this other nun, had this clicking sound in her mouth. And she just did it habitually, probably didn't even know she was doing it. And it was driving her nuts. She couldn't even concentrate. And she cried out to Jesus that all she wanted to do was pray. And she couldn't concentrate. And she was frustrated. And finally, she decided to make a prayer of patience. She would just sit there patiently and just be with God despite the distractions and she would just try to focus the best she could. Except that she couldn't. And it was so frustrating to her that she just really got bent out of shape, as we often do many times. And she decided to make a prayer of suffering. She said, Christ suffered out of love for me. I'm going to suffer out of love for him. I am going to sit here and open my heart to him, whether I get anything out of it or not, whether I feel it or not. I'm just going to give myself to him out of love. And she made that prayer of love, great sacrificial love, suffering. And that's what we can do too. And that's a wonderful lesson, not just for church, but for adoration when people are distracting. At home when we're trying to pray. At home when we're trying to concentrate. Anywhere. St. Teresa of Avila said, it does not matter your surroundings. Your surroundings don't matter when it comes to your communion and entering into deep relationship with God. She said, what matters is your determination and your drive, your desire to be close to Christ. She said the whole world could be falling around you, and it doesn't matter because you deeply desire to be so close to Christ that you'll block any and all of that out if you're deeply virtuous and you have that deep spiritual life. And I've experienced that many times. I've experienced getting super frustrated with annoying people talking in church. And I've experienced the times where I can just block that out because all I want is Christ and I don't care about any of that. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm focusing on Christ. And if we can cultivate this prayer technique and this desire for Christ above all things, you're going to find yourself, even when things are melting down like kids, that you're going to focus more on the readings, even if it's not perfect. You're going to pray the prayers a lot more perfectly. You're going to sing the songs a lot more diligently and from your heart, even if it's not the whole song. Even if you're getting distracted here or there, you're going to be in the Mass a lot more, and you're going to get more out of it. So I would take these prayer principles to heart and work on them, but never leave Mass, because Jesus says he is the vine and you are the branches, and we need him. And he says, I am the bread of life. Where do we receive the bread of life? In church. He said, if you eat my body and drink my blood, you will have eternal life. He who does not eat my body and drink my blood has no life in him. Meaning, if you don't receive the Eucharist, if you just go home and pray at home, you don't receive the Eucharist, you're losing out on life. No, we go to church for Christ, come hell or high water, as we say here in America. Hell or high water. We're going to church and we're bringing our kids, and God is going to bless us and grace us whether we feel like it or not. We don't stop going because of what other people say or what other people think or the looks we get. Put your pride away and put love of God first. I myself have been having to find new ways to love God, because I would just love to sit in God's presence for 1 hour to 2 hours with no one distracting me and just be there with him. But nowadays, it's me offering sacrifices. It's me offering love to him. It's me saying, God, I really want to give you more, but I'm so distracted. I'm going to give you this prayer of suffering. I'm going to give you this prayer of love. And when I'm walking around the room at 3 a.m. and my kid's crying and I'm trying to walk her back to sleep, I'm offering it up as a sacrifice of love. I said, Lord, this is my prayer to you. I offer this up as a prayer. I offer my heart to you. And I do this with patience and love and diligence rather than losing my temper, because I would know that's what you would want. And I offer it up as a gift for you. And yes, I can't always do that, but I'm working on it, and I'm working on becoming more virtuous. And the more virtuous we become, the more we love Christ. And the more virtuous we become, the more he has room to move in us with his grace and his love and his life-changing grace. So please keep these in mind, and I would love for you to put in the comments your experiences, for good or for bad. Maybe you can help some people with your personal experiences, with maybe some personal advice that has helped you. Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you'd like a speaker to come to your church, please let us know. Check out our website at catholictruth.org, and check out our part 1 of this video series too, and more to come as well. And please, if you love what we do here, support our ministry. It's so important that we need people to invest in Catholic truth, what we're doing, where we're going, catechizing the masses. For 60 years, we have not been well catechized, and people have been walking away from the faith, which is the exact reason why we started Catholic Truth, to help people be transformed inside and out by Christ, to know their faith, to love it, and to be transformed by it. So please invest in this ministry and help us to give back to the care of souls. And finally, follow us on social media if you would like to be inspired daily. So many people who watch these videos don't like them and don't subscribe, and we pray that you like our channel enough and you like the video enough to like it and subscribe to it. Thanks so much for watching, and God bless.
Hi everyone, my name is Kate. I'm the video editor here at Catholic Truth, and I just wanted to say on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for taking some time to watch our videos and learn more about your faith. You guys really make this channel possible, and we truly appreciate you being here. So thanks again, and God bless.